Hello, I'm Helen from Journal with Purpose and welcome to my latest YouTube video. Today I'm going to do a tutorial from my second book. So this is the Layout Ideas 101. And I thought it'd be nice to do a simple gratitude layout. I've shared something similar before, but it's still something I return to again and again. And I'm going to be using watercolour for mine, but you could definitely decide to do it in coloured pencil, coloured pen, or any kind of medium that you like. But we will be adding our gratitude entries on top of it. So just make sure it's a medium that you're going to be able to use whatever kind of pens you like writing with on top. Now I'm going to be using my traveller's notebook today. It's one thing I'm missing with my Moleskine journal at the moment is I can't use watercolour straight inside it, but I have nearly finished that insert, so I'm going to be going back to one that I can use watercolour in. And for my colours today, I'm going to go for like some nice seasonal colours. And I think that's another kind of good way of using a layout, but then just changing its appearance. Just play with the different colours that you use. So I've got my set here of Kuretake Gansai Tambi watercolour. And I'm just going to spend a few minutes mixing up some paints into this palette because I want to have a few colours to go so that I can then kind of drip them into each other and let some of those colours run together. I always have a gratitude spread of some sort on the go anyway, and I've got one at the moment that I just add a few lines to every evening, but I've nearly finished that page, and as I'm getting close to the end of that Moleskine journal, as I mentioned, I thought it'd be nice to have something else set up and ready to go. So I'm picking some colours that I associate with autumn and that I'm seeing in nature around me at the moment. So now I've got my colours mixed, I'm going to just start adding shapes exactly like this from my book onto these pages. So mainly circles, squares, ovals, rectangles, nothing tricky at all. And it really doesn't matter about the size of these, but for me, each one of these different shapes will be a gratitude entry. So I want them to be big enough to add some writing to, even if it's just a few words to remind me of something which perhaps really made me smile or that I thought was worth noting in my journal as a happy moment. And this is where I'm then just going to add a little bit of another colour in and just let those mix together a bit. And this is a Traveller's Company brand insert, and it's certainly not watercolour paper, but it holds up to watercolour really well. It's going to wrinkle and give me some little dips in the paint, but I really like that effect. And so again, just going to drop another colour in. And then move on to using that colour. So I've added quite a lot of water to these because I don't want them to be too pigmented, but that's just so that my writing will show up okay on top. really like having some pages all set up ready to do my gratitude journaling on. So then in the evenings, I can literally just grab my journal and just spend a couple of minutes filling those in. I haven't got to kind of set something up, so it really encourages me to spend that time. A lot of my journal pages I set up in advance for this kind of entry, so really just for those reasons, so things like my habit tracker, anything that I just want to be nice and quick, because it'll just perhaps stop me overthinking, and even if I've only got a few minutes in the evening, I can still add something really meaningful to those journal pages. Okay, so I'm just going to carry on now doing exactly the same thing, just filling up both of these pages with these different shapes of watercolour. So I'm now moving on to the last shape that I'm going to add on these pages. Even this process I just find so relaxing. Just finding little gaps and where I want to add the shapes until I gradually fill up that page with some beautiful colours. And I think it's a really nice idea to change the colours with the seasons a little bit as well, just so that you're reflecting your world around you on your journal pages, even just in the simplest of ways. So now I've got all of that added onto my page and it's full of colour. I'm going to get that dried off. The watercolour is now all dry and I'm absolutely in love with how some of these colours have bled into each other. I just think it gives such an interesting effect, but is really easy to do. And the next thing is, just like in the book, I'm going to add some little doodly borders around each of these shapes. But rather than do it in black, I'm going to use a brown pen this time, and I'm going to use a Tombow Fudenosuke brush pen. And I think that should give me some nice bold outlines. Again, just like with the watercolour, going to keep it really simple. So I'm kind of doing a loose circle around this one, but I'm then going to add another one which overlaps. One of the things I like with the brush pens for this kind of type of doodling is you get some lovely variation in the thickness of the lines. For this one, I'm going to do dot, dash, all the way around. And I'm kind of doing it so that it's just on the edge of the shape, so that if the colours are a bit dark on the watercolour, I'm still picking up a hint of it kind of around the white space around the outside. And of course you don't need to add these little details if you don't want to. You could just write straight onto the writing spots, but I think it just adds a little bit of something fun on there. This one I'm just going to add little lines coming out as if it's stitched onto my page. You could use different coloured gel pens if you wanted to, absolutely anything. And for this one, I'm going to do some circles. And I really like how all of those colours are looking together, and I think the brown brush pen actually ties them all in together really nicely. I have had separate gratitude journals in the past, which I really like, but at the moment I've just been kind of slotting them in and around my other journal pages, which I also quite like because it kind of fits in then with the story of the things that I'm writing about on my other pages, perhaps the photographs that I'm including. So it kind of fits in there nicely. But any way that works for you is absolutely fine. So this one, I'm just doing some little zigzags on. And for this one, I think I'll do some crosses. So I'm just going to carry on now for a couple of minutes and add borders to all of these little watercolour shapes. Now that they've all got their borders, they are ready to go for us to start adding some gratitude entries onto. So I'm just going to write a couple now to give you an idea for how it could look. And by all means, you can turn your journal page around and write this way if you find that easier with some of the shapes. I actually really like it when the text is running in different directions. I think it adds so much interest to your pages. And I'm going to be using a black Muji gel pen. I've written a few examples there just to give you an idea of how this spread could build up over the week or a couple of weeks, however long it takes you to fill it in. And I've just spent a quick moment thinking about some of the things over the last day or two that have really brought me joy and that I'm grateful for and I want to get documented in my journals. Well, I really hope you've enjoyed that. Just a quick and simple spread to hopefully get you started in your journal if you've been a bit stuck recently. As always, I want to say a massive thank you to everybody who's joined me over on Patreon. Thank you ever so much for watching. I hope you're doing really well and I look forward to speaking with you really soon in our next video.